now we could like delve into back into Shabbos space. I will share the chart for Shabbos, okay, and then talk also about the songs with it. Maybe that would help, okay. And this will be our recap of, and then that way we could go straight into the song in Bnei Heichala. So here I'm share screening. So, as said earlier, that Shabbos is dealing with 3 time zones. The lower unity is going from these 3 lower realms of the weekday, Bria, Yitzir, Asiya. Friday afternoon, evening, we're in this overlapping zone. Top of Bria is making contact with Malchut, the lowest realm of Atzilut, making this lower Yichud, like it says here. So there's this happening Friday night. Then there's the upper Yichud going on here. Then this upper Echad B'Echad, 1 and 1. And then, so the lower unity here makes its way up here. So if you look here on this side, Friday afternoon is still lower. Friday, if you make an invisible horizontal line, you see Friday evening is there. Shabbos day is, so by the end of Friday night, we make it all the way up here, Chacham Bina Vatzilut, we're in contact there. But then Shabbos day, we're going even higher. We're going up into the deepest of Keter, the Atika Kadisha, Atik Yomin, the ancient of days, the innermost of the Keter, through Arachanpin. But it is still in its most potent state. Okay, so again, Friday night we went from is the feminine, and which is rising up. It's also represented by the holy apple orchard, and then we go up Shabbos day is the masculine, that is the Eranpin, the small face, which is mainly the 6 midot, Chasik Vertiparis Nesachot Yisod. But it reaches up Shabbos day, Tatika Kadisha, the highest, the holy ancient one, up there. Incidentally, this Atika Kadisha, this is the pleasure or delight principle of Shabbos, because all of Shabbos is mainly about Tanug, Oneg, Shabbos, delight, bliss, and that's where we get the highest point, Shabbos by day, but it's not fully expressed yet. It is only Shabbos afternoon that we now bring this highest point and to make it all-encompassing, even down here, even to the lowest of Atzilut. Let's see if there's another chart here. This is the Tainug one is showing it, how it's going. This is way too detailed, honestly, but you get an idea how it comes down, all-inclusive. All right. So this is also expressed in the 3 songs of the Arizal. The song of Friday night is the song is Azamer B'Shvachim. I sing or I cut. It's the initial with song, which is the initial separating from the negative forces of the weekday, the klipot and such, and make ourselves prepared for the Friday night meal with all the aspects that we had in the Friday night meal, the wine, the 12 loaves of bread, and even the candles lit, the vessels, etc., the table. And then we went through all the details and what all that was. But that was all. The emphasis was of letting go of the ordinary, the weekday, to take on the new. But still, there was always a sense that there's still some negative forces, for example, just lurching on the outside of the realms, right? It's not totally gone, etc. Then we work Shabbos day, we get to a higher state, almost like future of the future, almost a little bit of, and that is the idea of Yigali Lantame. That's the second song of by day of the Arizal, of Asader Lisudasa. The Safed of Shabbata is the daytime when we reach Atika Kadisha. If you remember, we even said that the different Askinu Sudasas, the Aramaic saying we say before, in Friday night, and before each of the three kiddush, Friday night, Shabbos day, Shabbos afternoon, if you read it, they have the three ideas of Ze'er an, right? Ze'er Anpin, Atika Kadisha, and Chakal Tapuchin Kadishin. These are the three. So and it depends how you read it. If you know what is being activated at which time, what is being activated Friday night, what is being activated Shabbos day, Shabbos afternoon, you understand why it's organized that way. So, for example, Friday night, being that it is the emphasis is on the holy apple orchard, which is Malchus, the feminine, which is over here the lower state. Therefore, the Askinu Sudasa begins with Chadvasa de Malka Kadisha, the Chakal Tapuchin Kadishin, and only then it mentions the Erampin. That's the second, the highest on the chart here on the left column, and then the third is Atika Kadisha. That's Friday night. Then, however, if you go Shabbos by day, what is the say? How does it work? What is the seder? Shabbos by day is first Atika Kadisha, because now Shabbos day emphasis is where we reached the peak, the summit of what we reached, which is as highest point we'll get in a way for Shabbos. That we can reach up, so to speak, is Atika Kadisha. And then only after that it's mentioned there Anpin, because reaching there came through there Anpin as attached to then third Chakal Tapuchin. However, when it comes to Shabbos afternoon that we are focusing on, what we say right before Bnei Heichala, that Askinu Sudasa is the first we mention is Ze'er Anpin. And then we mention Atika Kadisha and then Chakal Tapuchin Kadisha. Why? Because if you remember what we're speaking about, what we discussed months and weeks upon weeks ago, yes, it is true Shabbos by day we reach the highest point, which is the Atika Kadisha. That's the Keser Yitnu Lucha, and why it's also called Kedusha Rabbah, because we reach the highest point, the greatest point. But it's only up there. It's only being in the ivory tower. It's only being in the penthouse, so to speak. But it has not that amazingness can only be up there on the top. That has not been shared yet with all of existence. It's only those that can elevate themselves and get to that highest point and ascend and can reach it. But really, the aim of Shabbos and everything is not just to get the high and to be up there, but to take that high and bring it down. Meaning, bring it down doesn't mean to lessen its height, its force, its potency. It's that it remains that potency, yet it can be even on the lowest realms. And that is the truest highest. Because something that is high and can only remain in its high state, then it's still limited in being in the high. It can only be there high on that high state. Right? But it's not all present. It's not all encompassing. It's limited in its specialness. It's when we can take that thing that is so great, high, special, and able to bring it into everything, and in fact transform or show that everything is in fact the same as that great high, then everything is high. Then everything is on that high state. Everything is sublime. And that is accomplished Shabbos afternoon. That we take, that what we're doing is we are not keeping Atika Kadisha locked up in the attic, in the top, but Atika Kadisha is released and now encompasses not just up here Keter, but all the way down to the lowest of Atzilut, already getting ready to go into the weekday back into Bria again, in a whole new state, whole new elevated state. So this is expressed, this idea of why Shabbos afternoon is in a way greater than Shabbos day. And why Dafka Shabbos afternoon is known as the Raven, the Choraven, the want or will of all wants and wills. It's the highest. If all of Shabbos is the light and in the holy wills, then and this is the will of the world. So you can imagine where we're getting at. It's also a time of sometimes you say it's time of silence too. It's really in Hasidic communities with Rebbes, the tish of Shabbos afternoon going out of Shabbos is the most magical, most sublime. And they even let the candles and the electric go down, and the Rebbe says the Torah in the dark. So to get to that level is ironically comes through a whole week, a whole Shabbos of eating gefilte fish and challah and shalom and all that being manifested in the physical world, and that is the specialness of Shabbos too. That Shabbos is not limited like in Kippur just to be in the spiritual holy. That Shabbos is in even our physical day. The physical is spiritual. That's what they say. That you don't even have to do that much of the selection process of the food and things in the world like we do throughout the week. We're more on a psychic spirit level, not on this verbal, mundane as much. So this is the climax, so to speak, is Shabbos afternoon and the song Bnei Heichala that we're learning. All right, here we go. Bnei Heichala. Bnei Heichala, these are the people of the palace or the chamber. Okay, here, Bnei Heichala. Okay, who are these people of the chamber, the palace? So there's different ways to say it, who they are. They can either be, one way to look at it is that it is the scholars, the elitists, or the Kabbalists who have access to these greater insights of the teachings and the higher realms and the chambers. And as we have spoken and gone through in length in the past about the great ascent and odysseys, journeys into spiritual chambers of Rabbi Yishmael, the high priest, Rabbi Akiva, and others. So it was only certain great visionaries in a way that can really access go through the chambers. These particularly there's 7 chambers we speak about. Getting to the innermost chamber is to be one with the king, so to speak. So what we said is, if you remember, we explained what is that. Why does it say Bnei Heichala, the people or the children of the Heichala, one chamber or the palace? Aren't there many chambers? There are Heichalot. Don't you have to go through? Those that travel through the chambers, aren't they going through 7 chambers? Why do we say one, the chamber? So I shared what came to me, an answer possibly that that is the whole point, that it is when we work through the process, going from chamber to chamber, especially now at the end of Shabbos, we've gone through the 7 levels. We say generally as before that there are 3 levels to Shabbos, but more detailed there are the ways that it's described that there are 7 levels of Shabbos, and that we are now at the end, we're in the 7th chamber, so to speak. So what happens there? It reveals, we reach the access, we reach the unity. And once we reach there, it reveals that there are no walls to begin with. It is really all along one chamber. And if you remember, I shared a mashal, a parable from the Baal Shem Tov, saying almost the same thing, of the king who invites people to come to try to find him in the innermost chamber, but he puts distractions up at the various doors of the chambers, and people get distracted. It's only the wise one who doesn't get distracted and reaches the innermost chamber and gets everything. And when he reaches there, he realizes that all the even obstacles or distractions, these were all illusions. It's really one chamber. So that is our point. That's the point that's maybe that's being made here by the Arizal. That it's now that we are at the end of Shabbos and we've reached that highest state of, as shown on the chart earlier, of the Tika Kadisha, the highest of the innermost, most sublime bliss, and not only keeping it in, but now that it's expanded and it's encompassing all aspects, all faculties of what? The Mechse Ziv de Zer Anpin, to see the rays of Zer Anpin. Zer Anpin, again, is those are the 6 sefirot. That's, let's say, the lower realm. Here's back to the chart. So the Zer Anpin would be this middle matrix over here. So we're saying we're drawing it back down from the Keter back down here to make it as if this is, let me see if I could do the annotating thing. Yeah. Here. So what is happening Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, Shabbos afternoon, you see what I'm doing with the blue? This is what's happening. Right? All this is now one. That's what's happening. This is what we're saying, that it's not just up in this circle, but now it's a big expansion of the Keter taking in all the levels. And that again, you see all these realms are like different chambers. No more 7 levels and all that. It's all one. And that's the chambers. And so this is Lemerse, to see Ze'ib de Zer Anpin, the ray of Zer Anpin. So even though Zer Anpin is down here, true that, but that in a way is the point, that we are drawing the Keter down through to this lowest level. That's Zer Anpin. We can even make it in a way more like closer like that. You know what I mean? But that's the point, that it comes down to include the Zer Anpin to get reactivated again for the next week. But to see the ray, Ziv means to be in a revealed state. That means the Keter is now uninterruptedly divinely channeling through here, Zer Anpin now. And it's one. It's like morphed into one organism, so to speak. So one flow. And so Atika Kadisha and Zer Anpin are now one, Mamish. And with Malchut, with Chakat Abuch and Kadisha. That's why, which is even lower, the Malchut. And that is why we say Vinuchu Vam, that it's the unity, Shabbos afternoon, of the masculine and feminine, and it's plural, it's all encompassing. Okay, so now, so in this interpretation, the Bnei Heichala is the people that say us, either the great mystic visionaries, or even us when we're aligned properly, that to access that highest state of Kadisha through Zer Anpin, channeled even into our down to earth reality. Okay, that's one way to see it. Another interpretation of Bnei Heichala, which is brought down by the Kabbalists also, is that the Bnei Heichala are the angels still. That there are the angels themselves are elevated now. Why? Because in fact, that's a major difference between the weekdays and Shabbat. The weekdays, when we're working in the world, we're also elevating things. We're elevating, I don't know, when we make blessings, we eat food, we pray, we do a good deed. We're elevating it for the physical world. But it's the world, or even ourselves, being more refined, that is being elevated. But the angels themselves stay in their place. It is particularly Shabbat that it says that the angels also elevate. That's why we also start off Friday night, Shalom Aleichem, Malach Yeshar Tzitchem Shalom. They're in flow, in motion. They're going up, down. They're in general elevating. If you remember, back on the chart, I think it's here. Yeah, there's mention of there's 2 of the angels or angelic beings that we spoke about in the past at length. Metatron. Below it's Sandalphon. These are they are usually in Bria and Yetzirah. But, or rather, Asiya, but on Shabbat, I'm sorry, it's like Asiya and Yetzirah, but Shabbat, they all get promoted. They go higher. Okay, so even the angels are elevating. So, and we know that there are angels that are guardians of the chambers, the Heichalot. So there are those that say Bnei Heichala, the people of the chamber, refers to the angels. And guess what? Again, they're both true. We could say mamish that they're both true, because if you remember when we read the short intro of Rabbi Yisrael Sarug to his commentary on the songs of the Arizal, and he says that the purpose of these songs that the Arizal wrote, and in general singing songs, Shabbat, songs with words, etc., the shirim and all that, is because that is how the souls of the righteous, or the souls of those that participate in the prayers of Shabbat and the meal, are elevated, and also their prayers are being elevated by the angels that carry the prayers and songs, because there's special angels that are attuned to be like the carriers of the songs of the people who are praying or singing. And moreover, since they're carrying them, then they themselves are being elevated. So it's a hand-in-hand thing. It's humans and angels together are co-facilitating to elevate the songs and praises and elevating themselves and becoming one and expressing more that unity that comes through Dafka and Shabbos, specifically on Shabbos. So this is the first stanza, that the people that those that when we're attuned and we're in this revealed state, then we can actually see the glow of Zeir Anpin, of meaning not just Zeir Anpin, but how Atika Kadisha is fully in full force glow through Zeir Anpin. At the same time, we say it's Dichsifin, that they yearn. It's almost like they never got there yet. It's almost because ultimately we are finite and God is infinite, and whatever is beyond us is, or what have you, even the spiritual realms are before the God's essence is infinite. So how can we? So there'll always be on a level a sense of yearning, even when we do reach the climax here. But in a way, this is also an encouragement and a invitation. What do I mean? Because let's say, let me ask you a very simple question. This first stanza, Bnei Heichala D'chsifin, the people who are yearning to see, who is saying this? Is this being said by someone? Is this an omniscient narrator? What do you think? That is almost like an opening phrase, like the omniscient narrator describing Bnei Heichala know that there are, they're the people of the chamber that yearn, right, to come, to see the Zeir Anpin. But today, I just read it a little bit slightly, but it's almost, maybe it's being just like we'll see later in stanza 5, Krivu Li, that's openly God saying, come close to me, or the king saying, come close to me, right, etc. But in a way, even though, yes, it is an omniscient narrator, but it's also almost like an invitation. Yes, like you were saying, in a way, like the bard, if you ever read the Iliad, there's like an opening invocation, right, to hearkening, what have you, or saying something, that they want, the great cherubim who yearn, so maybe it sounds like that even a bit. But really, there's an inner voice, I think, of God, or the king himself in here, saying, hey, children of the palace, you made it, right? You want to get to me, to the innermost chamber. That's what you're yearning for. That's what you're going for. Keep on yearning. Keep on, it is that it's like almost encouraging. It's like saying, you're almost there, like you're at the final stretch. You just have one more last last thing, thing to do to get to it. Like you're so close, That's it. The Bnei Heichala that they yearn, because we went through a Friday night and a Shabbos day, getting higher and higher states of revelation. But we're saying here, we still didn't get to the actual pinnacle. There's still a state where that we're still yearning to get to more and closer. How does this play out? When we'll look at Reb Chaim Chernovitz's teachings, we'll see what is this yearning part of it. And it's because sometimes we sense it or feel it, but we don't fully. It's not fully revealed. So here we're saying we're mamish at there, but there's still a little bit more to go to. What is that? The next stanza. Yahayin hacha. Here also, you could look at it again, as we were saying before, either as an omniscient, like a narrator telling, or maybe it's God also saying the following. Yahayin hacha, be here present, be fully present. Bahai taka, at this table, Devei Malka Bigalufim, in which the king is Bigalufim is engraved, is molded into it. Okay. So if you remember with what we were here, how we have Devei Malka on which the king leaves his mark. Okay. If you remember, we spoke when we learned through this the first time. I shared that Zer Anpin, up to the bottom of Zer Anpin, is the ninth spirit. You have the Chacham Bin Das, and then you have the Chazak V'Rdi Presence. That's those six are Zer Anpin. But there's still Malchut. You still have to manifest it all the way down, and that is what the table is, right? The breads on the table, the candles on the table, those are the different sphirot, what have you. It's the table itself that contains all the aspects. Like Malchut, the 10th final big vessel, Sphira, contains all the 9 and makes it one unity, makes it one final product to be passed on and to the outside world, so to speak, for the next level. So this is the table. This is the table that we're around Shabbos. And it's in this table that the king is marked, leaves his mark or is engraved. Okay? So that is, now we're saying it's not just enough to be in the high and even to integrate the Atik Kadisha with Zer Anpin, but even let's take it further into the Malchut itself. The truth is, according to the Kabbalists, you can't really go all the way to the lowest of Malchut on Shabbos itself, or the very end. But just seeing the way this is written, and it's alluded to in other ways, certainly you can. Give you an example that so the 3 meals, the periods of Shabbos also represents Abraham, Yitzchok, and Yaakov. So whether we say Friday night is Abraham, Shabbos day Yitzchak, or Friday night is Yitzchak, Shabbos by day as Abraham, but certainly everyone agrees that Shabbos afternoon is Yaakov. And the verse into the Zohar brings down for it to Yaakov, because Yaakov, it says, nachlas Yaakov, and I will feed you, I'll give you the inheritance of Jacob. That's the verse given for Shabbos afternoon for Jacob. And according to Kabbalah, the word nachalat means inheritance. Is actually coming from the word nachal, like a stream, a river, and like a river coming from above and goes and unites from the highest mountain peak to the lowest valley, so to speak. So it does reach all the way down, and that is the idea that of Shabbos afternoon also, that we're drawing down from the highest peak of Atika Kedisha all the way down into Zer Anpin, and even more into the table, which is represented by Malchus. How can this be? How could we bring down from the highest level of Atika Kedisha all the way down into the most mundane, or the lowest sphere of Malchus, so to speak? So it's sort of hinted in or referenced in what he says, Devei, because that in the table, the king is engraved and marked. And this led us to a whole long discussion of what is the mark in the table. And the answer was, it is what is known as the reshimu, the impression or mark of God's very essence that was unaffected by the tzimtzum, by the diminishment of God's light. And so once we started discussing these cosmological these issues of, we mentioned tzimtzum and reshimu, that is when we went to multi-week discussion on all that subject in depth and length. So we're not going to go over it again, unless anyone has any specific questions on it, because I know some people who just tuned in now weren't there for then. So if there's anything that is somewhat related, maybe we could discuss it. But suffice it to say that our point was that yes, even and precisely God's very essence can leave a mark or be engraved or leave or be a mark all along in the lowest realms, in even Malchut, even in this world and all that. And that is the king's very own impression in the table, in this world. And Shabbos is the time when we are revealing even that just being just a mark is not just a mark, but it contains the whole essence of God's presence. So that is the thing. Incidentally, there's other things, other aspects related, like is it a table? It's even lower than a table. He uses the word taka, Aramaic, which is even a word for like a box or some container, or some other commentaries say it's the chairs around the table. But whatever it is, we're saying that it is coming down in this down to earth, so to speak, way, to be more manifested, more internalized, right?
Exactly.
And it's also, the word is devei, that in it. That means it has that very inner, that even though we're on this highest point and we're in that Kadisha, we could almost fly away and not be grounded. So we need this extra warning almost from above. Hey, be grounded. Don't fly off, right? And that's the point. Come down into Zerampin and even lower into Malchus. This is like what they say, bagel with butter, or hold on to something physical. So you don't have klois nefesh. You don't use the soul does not expire. Yeah. So that's saying, almost like saying, don't close your eyes, keep your eyes open, keep it, be alert, be aware.
So Mamish making this tefillah becoming my new favorite one.
It's prepare and a niggin, certainly. So it's the high taka. So it's a be the way, and don't think that you have to fly all the way up to be part of the divine. In fact, there could be even special connections with the divine. Daf could be holding on to the table that's already engraved in the table. So you could just look at the table, look down. The invitation for this week on Facebook, where I had a picture, put up a Michal Muchnik art with a table, big table, everyone's sitting around looking down on the table with the challah and the candles. So that's, that's how we are connecting to the up there, is through down here. And the whole point is that we align the two, the up there and down here, into one. Okay, so that is. And the great Kabbalist Rabbi Yaakov Koppel says this over and over in his different forms, Kabbalistic ways. Yes, that in this meal we are making like a vessel, like a seating position, to take in all of this reshimu, this impression of the very divine of God. Okay, so this is until where we covered until now. Now we're